Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. If it's your first time on this channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. And please support this channel by remembering to hit the subscribe button there. In today's video, I would like to talk about, as you have seen on the title, the most important calculations in finance or in business. But at the end, keep watching, I will add a bonus. So, as you remember in the last video, which is here for those who have not yet watched it, you can watch it before watching this one. And in the last video we talked about investment portfolio, and we gave an example, and today I'm going to use that example to explain or to remind those four important calculations in finance or in business. So let's have a look on the first one. As you can see in this table, we are going to use the information which has been explained in the previous video, and then the first operation or calculations is known as addition. This is something we learn in primary school, and we know it, and just we have to be sure that we remember how to do it faster. And as an example, you see in our table, you remember that we invested 300 in the savings account and 200 in buying shares and 500 in a business. So when we make addition, we add all these three, we obtain the total or the sum, which is our initial worth, which was 1,000. And at the end of 1 year, we remember that our three assets made profits, and we have, for the first asset, we obtained 315 plus 230 for the second asset, and 600 for the third asset, which made our portfolio a total of 1,145 from the initial worth invested, which was 1,000. So here we see that addition, just we add to know the total amount invested. We take just the amount invested in each asset, then we compute, we add all the number, we obtain the sum or the total amount. The second operation is known as subtraction. So here also let us use an example. Let's say we have started with our 1,000, and after starting in the first week or in the first days, we have our business. There is, for example, a fire that is coming, is blowing up everything, and we don't have any insurance. In that case, we will remain with the initial amount 1,000 minus subtracting the amount invested in the business. So which means we will have 1,000 minus 500. We will remain with only 500. That is just a subtraction. Another example here, let's say after 1 year, we know what happened in our portfolio. Let's say, for example, the shares we bought in the company has lost the value. Just the company went bankrupt, and the shares, the values of our share become zero. In that case, we will have the 1,145, which we were supposed to have, minus the 230. which is equal to 915. Or we will remain only with the money, the profit, the money and the profit we made for the savings account, which is 315 plus the 600 from the business, which also is equal to 915. The third and the fourth operations or calculations are known as multiplication and division. So here also as an example, you remember we said that we have bought 10 shares in a company, and when we bought them, the value of each share was 20. So that's why the amount we needed to invest in that company was 10 shares times 20, the value of each share, which made 200. And after 1 year, we still have our 10 shares, but the value of each share has grown. It's now 23 from 20, and we will have 10 times 23, that makes 230. So for the division, I can give the example of like how, for example, we computed the weight. We say that in each portfolio, we have different assets, and each asset has its corresponding weight. So looking at the first asset, we said its weight is 0.3, and to obtain this weight, we just take the amount invested in that asset, which is 300, we divide by the total amount invested, which is 1000. So 300 divided by 1000 is equal to 0.3. We do the same for all assets, and for example, if we look for the final first year at the end, we obtain that the weights now are 0.315. We divide by the amount or the value of our portfolio, which is 1145. So 315 divided by 1145 is equal to 0.275. And the weight for the second asset after 1 year is going to be 230 divided by 1145, which is equal to 0.201. And the third weight for that means the weight for the third asset is going to be 600 divided by 1145, which is equal to 0.524. Remember that the weights in the starting of our investment were not these three. We had for the first asset we had 0.3, for the second asset we had 0.2, and for the third asset we had 0.5. You see, they have changed, but we remember that the total in any portfolio, always the sum or the total, the sum for all the weights is always equal to 1. That's why either at the beginning the 0.3 plus 0.2 plus 0.5 is equal to 1, or after 1 year we take 0.275, 0.201 and 0.524. We sum up and we obtain always 1, because it's one portfolio. Nothing has changed, only just the asset has grown. They made some profits. And all these 4 operations are what mathematicians call arithmetics. So this is something important. It's better to know how to do it faster. maybe some use calculators or some softwares. We will see in the next videos how we can use maybe computers in case you have a lot of information. Here we have only 3 assets, which is easier to compute by hand, but when you have thousands, a lot of information, a lot of data on a paper, it's not easy. But we have to understand the theory behind in order to make the practice easier. So let's now jump to our bonus, which is percentage. So how do we compute percentages? Again, we use an example here. We see this column, for example, for the first asset, we say that we made a profit of 5%. How can we compute this? So here we take 315, then we divide by 300, and what we obtain, we subtract 1, and the value which is going to be obtained here, 0.05, we multiply it by 100 and we obtain 5 out of 100, because 0.05, it's like dividing by 1. But if we are going to divide it by 100, so you are going to multiply the numerator by 100 and the denominator by 100, and we obtain 5%. And you can do the same for all the 3 assets. And in case, for example, we look the shares we invested, and in the case where the company becomes a bankruptcy, so that means we don't made those 230 in our example. So we will see that our asset is going, our portfolio is going to end up with 915, because it's 315 plus 600 only, because the second asset is not there. So in that case, we have 915, we divide it by 1000 and we subtract by 1, and we will end up with something negative, which is minus 0.085. Putting it on percentage, we will obtain minus 8.5%. So here you realize that we cannot say it's profit, because it's not maybe it's a negative profit, but the correct word we say it's a loss. We have lost money. This is something interesting to remark in a portfolio, because this is one way of reducing risk when you are investing in different assets, because you realize that if we had invested all the money in that company and the company becomes bankrupt and all the shares, the value of the shares becomes 0, even if we have invested all, we have bought more than 10 shares, they will become 0 and we will end up with 0. But here, at least, even if we have lost 8.5% of our initial invested wealth, but we don't have 0. There is a remark here I wanted to point here for the portfolio, where we compute the percentage, this 14.5. We have 2 ways of computing this one. Either we can take the weights, the initial weights, 0.3, 0.2, and 0.5, and then we multiply by their corresponding percentages after 1 year, and then we make the sum. That means we take 0.3 times 5% plus 0.2 times 15% plus 0.5 times 20%. This is going to be equal to 1.5% plus 3% plus 10%, which is 14.5%. Or we can take just the amount, the amount of portfolio we have at the end of 1 year, which is 1,145. We divide by 1,000 we invested at the beginning, we subtract by 1, and what we obtain we multiply by 100. So we are going to obtain 145 times 100, which is equal to 14.5. So these were the most important calculations in finance. So these 4 from arithmetics plus the percentages. So I hope by the end of this video everything is clear now. When we will need these tools in the next video, I hope there will be no problem. And thank you very much for following, and see you next time. And I would like also to remind you, please, to go and subscribe and support the channel, and also share to other friends whom you think they are interested in this. And thank you very much, and I wish you also love and money. Bye and take care.